Hi, my name's Alex, and today I'm going to be covering how to be a better swim instructor. So this is not a traditional how-to video. It still is, because I'm going to be telling you what you can do better as a swim instructor, or as a coach or a professor. You can actually apply these principles universally across the board as long as you're teaching to. The first tip I can give to all swim instructors is remember that you're a swim instructor first, then a personal trainer slash like fitness helper, whatever you want to call yourself. But remember that when we're in the water, we're there to teach the kids how to swim. We're not there to run them through the wall and swim 5 more laps, swim 6 more laps. That's not what we're there to do. We're there to stop, look at a kid's technique, analyze it, and be like, okay, hey, listen, when you do your freestyle, I need you to reach out in front a little bit more when you start with your left hand, or whatever the case is, right? We have to focus on something very, very specific and give them feedback. And then if they improve on it, then you give them another piece of feedback. A lot of swim instructors like to pretend they're drill instructors, like in the Marine Corps, and that's not what we're there to do. We're not there to yell at kids, and we don't ridicule kids either. It's important that when we do teach, we really focus on just teaching. Well, my second tip that I'm going to give you guys is learning how to listen. And what I mean by listen is I don't mean talking about the kids specifically, like the kids need to listen. What I'm talking about is actually the instructors listening. So this is actually a really big problem. A lot of swim instructors, because they're in the water, they think they're a very big authority, which is definitely true. But we also have to remember that they're still human beings, right? And so when we're teaching, we have to make sure we get feedback from them. So let's say you're teaching a kid who doesn't know his butterfly, okay? But he knows all his other strokes. But he struggles a lot on his butterfly. It would probably be good advice to ask him what he struggles with the most. And ask him, like, hey, listen, Johnny, what do you struggle with the most on your butterfly? And he's like, well, I have a real hard time taking both my arms out the water at the same time. And you go, okay, listen, so when you pull, so give them some advice based off the feedback they give you. You don't just want to give back random advice. You want to give them criticism or constructive criticism that is very specific to their needs. My third and final tip is going to be regarding criticism. And what you want to do when you're teaching is to criticize one thing at a time. Now I'm going to elaborate a little bit on this because it's kind of confusing, but when you see 2 errors made by a kid, let's say on his butterfly, one hand comes out more than the other and his feet come apart in the middle of his kick. What you'll do is you'll fix whatever's important or whatever is more important to you. So let's say you really want him to focus on his kicks because that's one of his issues. You'll tell him, be like, hey, listen, when you use your butterfly, your legs come apart just a little bit. Okay, so what I want you to do is in this next lap, I don't want you to worry about your hands. I want you to still make sure you have good technique, but I want you to really make sure you keep your feet together. So once the student will complete that first lap, then with the end of that, once he fixes it, we go, hey, listen, so now I want you to pull both your arms at the same time. Okay? Kids can become overwhelmed relatively quickly, and that's what I found. And so giving them too much information to focus on can give them sensory overload. And so what I like to do is just break up the criticism into small chunks so they can digest it easier. Hopefully those tips helped you become a better swim instructor. If they didn't, I'm sorry. If they did, I'm glad. Or they could be as far as a coach. You can apply these principles whether you're a coach or a teacher or a professor. It can really be applied universally. But those are 3 different ways on how to be a better swim instructor.